We'll call our meeting to order, the council meeting for Village of Georgetown here on July 27th of 2023. If you would all rise, we'll pledge allegiance to our flag. Wherever it went, they moved on us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being here tonight. Brian, if you'll do roll call for us, please.
Nancy?
Yes.
Kelly?
Here.
Jeremy?
Here.
Mike?
Here.
Bink?
Here. Art Owens is not here tonight. He's under the weather, so we will persevere without him. As you remember at our last council meeting 2 weeks ago, we had a resignation from our council, and it was brought up the council has 30 days to try to seat another council member. Is there anyone at this point in time the council has come up with? And if so, there could be nominations made today. It doesn't have to be made, but it does need to be done before our next council meeting, or it defaults to me to appoint.
I believe we had one applicant as we asked for resumes or letters of intent, which that was Kelly Campbell. Were there any other applicants? I don't know of any.
I'll second it.
I didn't make the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I will make the motion, as I've worked with Kelly before on council, and I think he would be a great asset to this village. So I will make the motion to have Kelly Campbell fill the vacant seat left by Steve Wolf.
Do we have a second for that?
Okay.
I'll second it.
Are there any, before we do that, is there any other nominations come forth? Having heard none, we have a motion and a second on that. Do we need to go to roll call? Let's do a roll call vote, Brian.
Kelly?
Yes.
Bink?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes. Okay, very good. Well, Mr. Campbell, you're one of us once again. So if you want, I can swear you in and you can have a seat with us up here. So scoot over just
Come on up.
As many of you may remember, Kelly was a part of our council several years ago. And so this is his second stint as a member of this board. So we appreciate his interest in wanting to be here. So thank you very much, Kelly. Okay, we'll go on at this point in time. Is there anyone here that would like to make a public comment? Okay, if you would come up and you can have a seat, you can introduce yourself to our streaming audience and you can have 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Chris Korzek, live on South Main Street.
Is that on? Is it red?
No.
Hit the left side, right side.
There you go.
Hello, Chris Korzek, I live on South Main Street. Been a while since I've been here, but was on Facebook, I'd see that it was going live and I could run down here and
So it's not showing up on our website or just not on the
it's
YouTube?
probably on the website, but
Okay.
you know, I check the village web or
Okay.
Facebook more than I do the
Okay.
page.
Okay.
The other thing I'm here about, you'll be happy to know it's not about dogs, but unfortunately it is animals. We're overrun with groundhogs. I've paid multiple times to get them out of my or if there's a grant we can apply for, to try to get this under control.
Chief, do you have any quick answer for Mr. Corsick?
I can get a hold of the game board and see what our options are.
Okay, let's do that. Give us a couple of weeks and maybe we can get a report back and hopefully you'll be here at that council meeting, or if not, listening to us on live, and we'll maybe have some suggestions as to what we can or cannot do. So, all right. All right. Oh, thank you, Mr. Corsick. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to, I don't think that mic's working. I had someone say that it wasn't working, so Rob, you want to check that? Wasn't plugged in.
There we go. It was a good speech. It was. I know what you mean.
I think people were reading your lips tonight, Mr. Corsick.
You may want to check yours, push them in, make sure that they're down all the way too.
Okay, since there are no other people to use our public comment time, we have a special presentation tonight from our sewer superintendent, Derek Kopus. Derek has been with us for what, about 15, 16 years? 17 years. He's a valuable employee for us and keeps that sewer plant as spick and span as a sewer plant can be kept. So
We try.
that's right. So Derek, go ahead and you can introduce yourself to the
Yeah,
public and then
sure.
you can go right into your program.
So, as Dale mentioned, my name is Derek Kopus. I've been with the village since 2017 or 2007, and I have been in wastewater for about 20 years now, which doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it has. So, but basically tonight, what I want to talk about is what people should actually be flushing down the commode and some of the things that we get down there that cause us some major headaches. And not only at the plant, but within the collection system. And you compound that with some of our other problems we have, like the I&I issues. It just leads to more and more problems, backups, overflows, things of that nature. So it's not a pleasant subject to talk about by any means, but it's a necessity. And if I can get a few people out in the public to pay attention to it, it's helpful. So just a little background information. I try to do this with all my presentations. This is the permit that we operate under is set to expire 2026, July 2026. The wastewater treatment plant's a class 3 treatment facility, and we are also classified as a major discharger, which means that we have a greater than 1 million gallon per day design flow.
To put that in perspective, Derek, these classes, how many classes are there?
They're considered technically 5 classes. There's a Class A, which is the lowest, a Class 1, Class 2, 3, and then a Class 4, which is the highest. And then there are also subdivisions for collection. There's a Class 1, 2, 1 and 2 collection license, and there's also a lab analyst license, Class 1 and Class 2. So and then it's the same way on the water side. But so we're design greater design flow than 1 million gallons per day, which means as a major discharger, we're not only under the inspection protocol for the state EPA, but also for the federal EPA. We can have feds show up and inspect the plant, and you're not going to see that with any plant under 1 million gallons per day, unless there's a problem, and they'll show up. They just typically don't bother. And they typically don't bother with the major dischargers either, as long as you're, abiding by the rules and not having major violations. So we discharge into Town Run, which is considered an exceptional cold water habitat, which is rare for this part of the state. That's something you need to see more in the northern part of the state. It's, I think, of trout waters. So, and I'm not saying that stream's a trout stream, because it's not, but in their designation, they designate it as a cold water habitat, which puts us into a whole nother level as far as what our permit limits can be. We are also, unfortunately, at 0.8 river miles downstream of the head waters of that stream. So we're the major source of water for that stream, or a major source. In addition to that, Town Run discharges into White Oak Creek, which is a exceptional warm water habitat. Both watersheds contain federally and state classified endangered species. So we are not very fortunate where we put our water into, as far as what the limitations that our permit has to follow. Our plan has to follow according to our permit, and it's all developed. It's all basically, all these limits are developed off of those designations. So, and that's why we have to have the treatment facilities we do, and why we have constant EPA pressure to renovate and fix our problems with our system. And it's not going to go anytime soon. These endangered species were found in 2006. I mean, Dales have been here, I think, since you started, about the same time I did.
2005.
Yeah.
There was a newt of some sort that required us.
And there's also three macroinvertebrates, 3 bugs, basically 3 larvae that propagate upstream of the plant, and that controls our whole designation. So as long as they keep finding those things there, we're not ever going to get any relief, and we never will this time, even if they don't, because they've proven that the water can produce those. So it's never going to get any less stringent for us, unfortunately. So basically, I've got a little animation here. This is kind of what you guys can see. This is a sample from the plant, from our activated sludge basins. These little crawly things around there are free swimming ciliates, and there's some crawling ciliates, and then there's other things that you can't really see that are, my magnification is pretty low there. But those organisms are what do the treatment. There's a huge variety of them. This is just the most common, just happened to be on the slide at the time I took the video, but there's several other species that I look for, and then that we cultivate within the plant to do the treatment. And, so getting back to the treatment plant, we were upgraded 2012 to meet new permit requirements, which basically were based off the 2006 study. And it was in addition, we had a total phosphorus limit added to the plant outside of our normal biological standards, which was the ammonia, carbonaceous biochemical oxygen demand, the CBOD, and the total solids. So the total phosphorus was added at that point, and basically it was because the old system is incapable of handling our flows and our pollutant loadings. We have what's called an ICIAS system, which means intermittent cycle extended aeration system. I don't expect anybody to know what that is, but if they want to look it up, they can see plenty of animations and stuff on YouTube. We use a mechanical separation device called a bar screen at the headworks of the plant that separates out all the trash that people flush. And unfortunately, those are a requirement. If people only flushed what was meant to go down the drain, we wouldn't even need that. But that's, every plant has them. So what gets confused a lot between water treatment and wastewater treatment, a lot of people think that water treatment is just, you pump the water in, shoot chlorine to it. So they think it has very little chemical addition. Water treatment is far more chemically dependent than what wastewater treatment is. Wastewater treatment is almost a 100% natural process. In many cases, it is 100% natural. We are capable of doing ours fully natural and biological with the plant design that we have. It's just that our water chemistry doesn't work out to where we can do that. We have to have certain ratios of carbon to nitrogen and phosphorus, and we don't meet that with the carbon. So we have to supplement a chemical called ferric chloride for the phosphorus removal. So we do have some chemical, but by far and away we're biological. And we consistently can achieve above a 95% removal rate for those, our major permanent contaminants, including E. coli, which we use UV light for disinfection. So that's just getting into the background of the plant. And let me speed through the rest of this. Like I said, I don't really want
But
to.
95% is sufficient for the EPA, is that correct?
It's above sufficient. Yeah. I mean, we're technically, a lot of times we're at 98 to 99%. I just put 95 to allow for the days when we don't meet that, but that's very rare. We're probably closer to like a 98% removal overall. So what should raw wastewater contain? Well, raw wastewater typically does not look anything like what most people would think it would look like. They think it's going to look like the obvious. So, but it basically looks like dishwater. There's very few, really, by the time it goes through the processes of getting pumped and everything to the plant, there's very few things that you're going to see in it. And it should be free of any non-natural solids, clothing, rocks. Well, rocks and wood technically are natural, but unnatural to be in the sewer system. But it should be free of clothing, rocks, wood, metal, plastics, rubber, all your other materials that are not naturally part of the municipal wastewater stream. Free of excessive fats, oils, and greases. Free of any chemicals that can kill the microbiota, which are those little bugs I was showing. Those things are exceptionally sensitive to any chemical imbalance or as far as that, even a biological upset can kill them off. So they have to have a certain environment to live in. If there's chemicals that come in of any type that they're not used to, it can wipe them out pretty quickly. Free of any high strength organic loads or chemical waste that has been poorly combined or cannot be diluted with our flows. Free of contaminants that surcharge or overload the system. So if we have big slug loads coming in and just keep hammering the plant and they can't get used to it. They're living creatures. So they have to, it's like us. So like if we start waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, it takes us a little while to get used to it. If you're not used to that. So it takes them a little while to get used to a pattern and they can eventually develop a lot of what they need to do the treatment to an extent. But free of any surcharge or overlay to the system, which includes industrial, septic, chemical, or agricultural waste. And most importantly, free of flushable wipes. Those things are a nightmare for treatment plants and collection systems. I read a study the other day that actually said that on average, the larger cities are spending about $3 to $4 million a year for flushable wipes just to remove them. That's how much alone here. We average about 2 or 3 backups, major backups a year with those things. And so I rely upon the public to stop flushing those, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So what does our wastewater contain? Well, this is all pictures of things that we've saw at the plant. We've got clothing, towels, bed sheets, plastics, bricks, rocks, two-by-fours, toys. I've had all that come in, and you wonder how some of it can even get through a line. I mean, it's amazing. I had a 2x4 come in one time that was about 6 foot long, and how in the world that thing navigated its way through the lines, I'll never figure out. Grease buildup. We get a ton of grease buildup in our lift stations. It's very costly, very maintenance heavy. And then, of course, obviously the flushable wipes. This first picture, that foaming issue, we never did figure out what caused that. That happened about 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was on Facebook. But that channel below the concrete there is about 8 to 10 foot deep. And then you can see it's 3 or 4 feet above that channel. Some kind of surfactant. It never really caused any major problems other than we had some UV violations because it was carrying, E. coli past the UVs. Second picture, obviously, is part of a tire. Now, how that gets into the sewer system, it's supposed to be a closed system. Never figured out. There's part of a hose, like the coating off of a rubber hose, that plastic sheathing they put around it. Part of that in there. And then the last one is a bed sheet, a full-size bed sheet. And that's all coming through the bar screen. So there's things that gets in there, like I say, that I still have no answer for. But so what problems we've had from this, we commonly get clogged sewer lines, sewer backups, overflows, which have to be reported. That causes a lot of additional paperwork and attention that you don't necessarily want from the EPA. Maintenance nightmares, high costs. I know Travis has had cleanups that have cost more than $4,000 to do one cleanup from these, that to where you get a backup so bad in the system you have to call a barber out and jetting trucks and everything else that we don't have here for the village. That we own because they're very, very expensive pieces of equipment to own. So you pretty much have to contract this stuff out or have to at least get somebody to come in and do it, while you're supervising. So we have clogged pumps, destroyed equipment. We've had several pumps that have burned up over the years for things getting wrapped around the impellers. Severe bar screen cleaning. We had $34,000 repair last year mainly because of flushable wipes that were compacting on the bottom side of the screen. It's a 6,000 pound screen, so you can't just normally lift it. There was no provision for lifting it. There is now because we modified it and put a crane on it. But underneath of it, these things were compacting. We're talking about heavy duty stainless steel that's, like I was telling Dale before the meeting, it was 7 years old at that point, 7, 8 years old since installation. It should have been there for 25 years without this issue. And it stress cracked it and actually broke the whole end of the rake off. So luckily, the talented people we got at Thomas's Welding were capable of welding it up for us. And we had some assistance from a technician get it back in place. So we've had complete die-offs of plant blight. We haven't had that for several years, but one instance in particular, there was a discharge from, I guess I can mention their name now, they're no longer here, but it was from Mac Tool. They had a bypass in their pretreatment system, and a lot of chromium came into the plant, instantly turned it black. We lost treatment for 2 weeks. So chemical kill-offs, organic overloads. We've had those from one of our, used to be a big customer, and we've had organic overloads. We've had scaling of the UV system, which the UVs disinfect the final effluent. That's a very important step to make sure we don't get anybody sick downstream of the plant. And it scales up, and then the light can't penetrate through the quartz sleeves, and it won't kill the bacteria. And of course, grease removal, we spend on average about $3,000 a year for grease enzymes, because once it gets to the plant, you can no longer just emulsify it and send it through the plant because it's going to wind up in the creek. So you have to have the bacteria and enzymes there that you can grow and culture to actually consume that and get rid of it. So it's very costly. And like I said, that's so how do we prevent it? Number one is participation from the customer base. We have to have their help with this, and stop flushing grease, stop flushing anything that won't readily dissolve. If you can't put it in a tub of water and it's pretty much dissolved within an hour or two, it doesn't need to be going down the line, because it's going to cause a problem. Don't dump any more than the normal cleaning volume of chemicals. If you got 5 pounds or 5 gallons or 10 gallons of pool chlorine left over for the season, and you think, oh, well, it's going to get weak and I don't have nothing to use it on, I'm just going to dump it down the drain. That's going to kill off a lot of our bacteria. It can cause issues potentially. Will it? Probably not, because we build enough capacity into the system to kind of anticipate things like that, but it could. If you have large quantities of chemicals, cleaners, any other thing that shouldn't be going down the drain, call me. I'll find a place to get rid of it for you. I'm more than willing to do that. I don't want to deal with the after effects if it comes into the plant and causes me a lot of issues. So I will go out of my way to find a place for you to get rid of that. If you see something in your neighborhood suspicious, I don't expect you to be a rat, but like if you see your neighbor going and flipping up a manhole and dumping something down it needs to be brought to our attention. And that's important too. And it helps me to keep the treatment costs down, which is ultimately the goal. I don't want to cost the people of the village any more money than what is necessary. So, and it keeps us safe. There are things that can come in if we're exposed to it at the plant. It's health hazards. And also, obviously the final output there, the final outcome is a clean environment. And then I've got some additional information here for like industrial and chemical waste. So chemical waste, high strength waste, we are not set up to receive that. We don't have, we can take it from like industries if they go through the pre-treatment process. There's processes that we have to have in place. And this is not me, it's the EPA. They're doing it to protect the plant, to protect the environment. So there are steps that you have to go through to get permitted industrial or certain commercial. So the systems that accept these types of waste, typically they will have a certain area that they dump in that's known. They'll have screening, they'll have preliminary treatment, chemical additions if necessary. And then they are, the one big thing that hurts Georgetown is we just don't have enough flow. We're not big enough to have like a bunch of untreated waste come into the system to where we can buffer it. So if you look at systems that accept more of your, like your septic type waste, they have the buffering capacity there to limit that down, because there's it's very, very high strength. I mean, it's off the charts at high strength. So you have to have the proper water volume there to dilute that down to where you don't get like an organic overload on the system. And they do this, it prevents the manhole deterioration, pipeline deterioration. A lot of that's all the manholes are concrete or brick, so anything that's acidic or caustic is just going to eat those things to pieces. Prevents hydrogen sulfide buildup, not only hydrogen sulfide, but other explosive gases. And then, of course, like I said, the final bullet there, low flow systems, we average dry weather flow at less than 400,000 gallons. So, it doesn't take a whole lot of flow from any place like that to really consistently start noticing. Now, once in a while, is it going to hurt us? Like when they have the festivals and stuff, and we have the little dump station up the fairgrounds. It doesn't, but that's something we have to keep an eye on. It's part of the requirements, like I said, for the EPA for that we really watch this stuff because it can be harmful. So we have solutions. Okay, so all industrial or commercial waste accepted by the village, they have to go through the licensed operator. So I have to liaise with the EPA on any of this stuff. I have to let them know in case something happens. Now, I'm not saying, like I said, just, when the fair is going on or anything like that, it is noticeable. And we definitely notice it because especially since it's that close to the plant. But those things are a little bit easier to explain. So, as part of my requirements, I have to let them know this is going on and seek pretty much their approval for this. Like I said, small quantities and stuff, but if it's something routine, it needs to go through the approval process. Pre-treatment levels for our system in particular are just based off of what we expect the normal municipal wastewater concentrations to be. So if there's an industry moving in, and I'm not trying to scare off industry or anything, don't get me wrong, there's proper procedure. The industries will have to be, if they have any kind of discharges, industrial strength or commercial strength, they have to go through that pre-treatment approval with the EPA. That's just, they make the rules. I just follow them. So
These industries, they know to do their due diligence when they
Yes.
come into a community.
yeah,
To see what the
exactly.
capacity is and what the rules are.
I'm not against, the village taking anything, but you have to consider what the impacts are. Especially if it becomes part of the routine. Joe and I had a meeting not too long ago with one of our customers that it was not an easy thing to do, but we had to shut off their business because of some pre-treatment issues. I'm probably giving away too much information, but and I don't want to call them out in public meeting. That's not what I want to do. But there are certain things that they weren't capable of doing. They were supplying quite a bit of money to the village wastewater plant on a yearly basis, but they had the potential and they were affecting the plant in negative ways. So I had to make that call along with Joe and Art that, this is no longer in our best interest to do this. And it comes down to the last statement there that basically this is meant to protect our customers' investment. We don't want the public to have to pay for any upgrades or anything based off of a decision to where we make a quick buck and it ends up costing. And that's what my primary concern is I don't want to see an upgrade in the future. And a lot of this has to do with our limits. We are, and I don't want to keep pushing back that like it's all the EPA's fault, it's all the permit's fault. But you have to protect that system. That's multiple millions of dollars there in equipment. And I want to make it last. I don't want to have to go through another, I've still got 15 years. If that plant's still in great operating shape when I leave, I will be very pleased. And that's my goal, was to actually leave here, not have another upgrade in that time frame, other than your minor things here and there. You're always going to have those.
That would make you age dramatically if you had to go through that again, wouldn't it?
It did the first time. So yeah. I believe I worked more in those 3 or 4 years than I ever have in my life. So that was a lot of hours. But yeah, and that's pretty much my spiel for this evening. Like I said, I don't want to go too long in it. Hopefully I didn't. But I mean, it's important that we keep our customers informed on this stuff. And like I said, I rely upon them. I need their help on all this stuff that comes down the drain to us. We fight it all the time. And I could use a little bit of help on it. And like I said, it helps to keep the costs down. And Hopefully we avoid any future major breakdowns like we had last year with that thing. It may not sound like 34,000 as much on the big scale things, but when that took up my entire equipment but repair budget for the year, pretty much on one repair, it's a big deal because I was relying upon that money for other things to get repaired that I had to push off, till this year. So it's part of it, but it's like I say, if I can protect it by just doing a little 15 minutes here or there, coming in here and talking, maybe a few people out there listening on YouTube will pay attention to it and give us a hand. So,
Hope so, anyway.
all right. Well, that's
You,
it.
you mentioned, I'm sorry, Jeremy,
Okay.
you mentioned that the plant was down, the bacteria had been killed off, the good bacteria at one point in time. How long does it take to rebuild that up?
It takes a minimum of 2 weeks.
There's a question, but don't do what you're doing. I have an idea. Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Okay,
It takes a minimum of 2 weeks to actually regrow the basic bacteria. Like I don't want to get too long-winded, but the nitrifiers and the phosphate accumulating organisms, I don't want to get too technical, but it can take literally a month for you to get those back. And that's but you will be violating for at least probably 2 weeks. So yeah, go ahead. And,
It just because it seems like the major point of your presentation is educational.
Mhm.
Would you want us maybe if I copied that and sent it to Art, he could post it up on Facebook and
Yeah, I can send it through email.
okay, I was like, so I can pull it off there
Or,
right
yeah, you
now.
can just copy it off of this. Yeah,
Is that something you'd want to see happen?
yeah,
right, cool.
yeah. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And
When
like
I-
I said, the more people that see it
Right.
and realize that, because I think a lot of it's just innocent. They don't think it really causes an issue. All it gets screened out, but those things are very hard to get out of the system. They don't screen well. They bind up well is what they do. So, but yeah, I'm fine with that. So.
Eric was talking about things that come down through the sanitary sewer. We've sent cameras down the sewer mains. We'll see basketballs, we'll see clothing, we'll see everything you can think of, shoes, everything.
In New York City, I believe it was last year, they found a ball of that debris that was 1,000 feet long in one of their like 82-inch main. It took them 4 months to clean it out. And we're talking about New York City that has every piece of equipment you can possibly imagine at their disposal. It still took them 4 months. I would hate to saw what that final bill was on just that one cleanup. And of course, we don't have it in that large of a scale, but $4,000 to me is pretty much unacceptable as far as like a cleaning cost. We don't want to be spending that every month. I mean, you're looking $50,000 a year. It doesn't take long where, think about what you could repair on your I&I with that $50,000 or what you could explore as far as video cameras, smoke work and all that. I mean, that's a huge hit for this village, if you're doing it consistently. And so, yeah. Do you want to make a copy now or you just want to keep it?
If you're done, if you can throw me that computer back.
Okay.
Is there any other
2 seconds.
questions for Derek before he takes off?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah.
You said you hold, you're capable of 1 million gallons a day. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
About how much on average is your daily consumption?
Dry weather, about 400,000. Wet weather, we're about 900,000. So we're at 1.2 million design. We're above 1 as far as like been a major. So, but yeah, our design's actually 1.2, but with all the it's under MPDS. Go back one.
Thank you.
There
it is. I got it.
Yeah,
My bad.
third down.
Yep.
But anyhow, we're designed for 1.2 million gallons. We can handle more than that, like as a slug load, the way the plant's designed, because it's technically set up to handle some surge flows from I&I and stuff. It's not something that you technically want to see all the time consistently, but yeah, I mean, wet weather, like when we start like spring rains or in the winter when it gets real wet and soppy out, snow melt off and all that, we'll average about 900,000. So I do a report every month and I try to copy. Has everybody been getting that?
Mhm.
I mean,
Absolutely.
as I just send it, I think typically to the village email, but if you got something, another email you prefer, whatever, I'm assuming he'll get his own email address. But I'll make sure you get copied on it, and it gives all the monthly flows and all that, the average flows, max flows. Last week was not a good week. We had that 4-inch rain. We had everything going that we could possibly get going, and it was barely keeping it in the system down there. We were about 1.5 feet from overflowing both of our pump stations, including our high flow pump stations. So it was pretty rough, but we got through it. Keith and I, my other operator, we were sweating bullets. We didn't know if we were going to be able to control it.
Anything else for Derek?
It's interesting he brought this up tonight on one of the news programs last night. They had a thing on Cincinnati sewer. It's same kind of thing. What people are putting in it, what they're doing to it. So it's kind of interesting timing.
Yeah, I mean, it's become a big issue. And yeah, like I said, ion columns and all that, they're not a good combination for it.
Oh, yeah, as Derek well knows, many people on council, we've been working on I&I forever. And, we just hope to narrow it down a little bit closer. And
now that it's, we've got the mandates in place, that's
Yeah.
even more of an issue.
Right.
You're actually under a schedule.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah, that's,
All right.
like I said,
But-
it'll never be in on that stuff. It's kind of like a permanent modification. We'll get used to this permit and they'll update it they'll put something else in there.
That's right.
Not to worry about.
Well, thank you very much, Derek. We appreciate you coming here, and we'll see you again, I'm sure. Okay, we'll move on into our general business. In your packet on page 1 is our minutes from our July 13th meeting. We will definitely entertain a motion to approve these as written unless there are some corrections, deletions, additions that need to be made.
I have a correction.
Okay?
On the first page, under general business, the 1 to 3rd paragraph down starts out with minutes of the Emergency Services Committee. The next line says council member discussed. There's no name. Wasn't that Barney? Didn't you discuss the?
Yes, it was.
It would make sense that it was me. And I remember doing it. I don't remember I started it, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was you. So that needs
Is
to
there
be-
anything else that we need to make an alteration to?
Yes, I have one on page 4, under Councilmember Mays, per his discussion during roundtable. I would like to see that updated with further verbiage that was included in that full conversation to include my comments as well.
Okay.
Okay. Do we want to table these approvals then until we get those revisions?
We need a motion.
We would need a motion to table these minutes for approval then.
I'll make
that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve, hold up on the approval of these minutes until they get corrected. Is there a second to that motion? By Nancy. Let's do a roll call vote.
Kelly,
Yes.
Bink,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
and Kelly.
Okay, very good. Next in your packet on page 5 is the Utility Service Committee meeting minutes. They're for your review. If there's anyone that's on that committee would like to make a few comments, that's more than welcome to. Jeremy, I think you might have something. Is that correct?
I just very quickly say that some things came through this week to advance the cause of gas aggregation. And I know I say that like every week, but there's a lot of things that needs to be done with this. On the 10th of August, when we have our regular meeting, out of the utilities meeting before that is going to come something that we're going to need to hopefully agree on. It's a letter of understanding to get the customer material from Duke Energy so that everybody can begin the process of either going with the Georgetown gas aggregation or choosing their own if they wish. But it's a critical part of that process, and it's going to come before the council in our next meeting. Otherwise, fairly normal, straightforward stuff.
Any other questions about the Utilities Committee meeting? If not, then we will move on to page 6 is a review of our Community Development Committee meeting minutes. There's members here, of course. If anyone would like to add anything to that, I know that Nancy, Jeremy, and we're here for that. Nancy, do you or Jeremy have any comments about that meeting?
Not really. We're working on our, well, Jeremy and I think Jason have been working on the business retention and expansion survey that should be coming soon. And we've started working on our 5 to 10 year park plan. And we'll probably be asking for some input in that in the near future.
I would say, if you want more information about the business survey and what Jason has been doing with that, that could either happen now or at a later time. If you want me to talk about it now, I can, but I don't know if
You can
that's.
go ahead if you want to, since you're right there.
All right, okay. So very briefly, we are moving forward with this, with the survey to look at current businesses in the village and how we can help them better. If I can boil it down to that simple thing, Jason has really provided some materials that are really quite helpful. Surveys that he's used in the past that we're going to tweak and modify probably at the, hopefully intentionally at the next CDC meeting, which is August 10th, so that we can maybe just, the material he gave us is really very specific and spot on and very, very useful. But for example, I thought of one possible way to tweak a question to make it more helpful for us. And so we're going to be putting that together at the next CDC meeting. And Jason will be continuing to help us to drive that bus and get as much feedback from people as we can.
Anything else? If not, then we will move on to page 7 for the review of the Emergency Services Committee meeting. Again, Jeremy, you were here. Mike, is there anything you'd like to add for any further explanation?
The only thing I'd like to say, and this is like 3 in a row now, is that I'm sorry Mr. Korzik left, because I would just like to say that to boil a very complicated thing down in terms of the animal issues that Mr. Korzik was discussing, we're balancing a lot of different opinions on this, and we're looking at an education program to help people understand better what their rights and responsibilities are to own a dog, and trying to get it out to people to help prevent bad situations from happening. And I either stop right now or talk for another 20 minutes. Almost stop right now. I saw that. I got it. So if anybody like Mr. Korzik, if he sees this and would like to contact me about specifics, fantastic. Or if anybody would like to. But that's where we're going in our next emergency services meeting. Is one of the things we're doing is to try to finalize what that might look like in helping people understand better.
Any other comments? If not, then we will move on to page 8. There's an ordinance there that it's a supplemental appropriation for the Kegs for a Cause. Kelly, would you read this by title only, please?
An ordinance making a supplemental appropriation for the Village of Georgetown, Brown County, Ohio.
I guess from this point in time, I have to differentiate because we have 2 Kellys now, so I'll have to watch out. So Kelly Campbell, if you start chiming in, that's all right too. This is supplemental appropriation. There was some other funding needed for the Kegs for a Cause in the amount of $5,741.37. All of this is to be repaid by the Kegs for a Cause group, and everything that they have taken from other supplemental appropriations will be retained by the village as it pertains to them. Any questions about the ordinance?
Was this on top of the 8,500?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and they'll just repay it back?
Right. This was just to tide them over for that time frame that they needed that. So any other questions? If there are none, we would entertain a motion to adopt.
Make the motion.
By Nancy. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
By Jeremy. If there's no more comment, let's do a roll call vote, Brian.
Kelly Cornett,
Yes.
Bink,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Kelly Campbell.
Yes.
That's 1347.
47. Okay, very good. On page 9 is an ordinance from the Ohio Department of Transportation. This is considered a first reading, so it doesn't need to be approved tonight. This is for them, for us granting them permission to clean snow and ice off of the state highways that come through the village of Georgetown, which is State Route 221, US 68, and State Route 125. This is something that we do every year, but they need to have that approved in advance. So Kelly, this is a lot to read, but I want you to read it if you would, please. Kelly Cornett.
And approval and granting consent to the Director of the Ohio Department of Transportation authority to apply, maintain, and repair standard longitudinal pavement markings and erect regulatory and warning signs on state highways inside village corporate limits, and giving consent of the village for the Ohio Department of Transportation to remove snow and ice and use snow and ice control material on state highways inside the village corporate limits, and giving consent of the village for the Ohio Department of Transportation to perform maintenance and or repair on state highways inside the village corporation.
Any questions or comments? So once again, this is a first reading. We'll be bringing this back to our next council meeting for approval. So we can move on. Also in your packet on page 12 is a resolution in regards to engineering fees for a sewer lift station. It's on page 12. So Kelly, once again, Kelly Cornett.
A resolution authorizing the village administrator to enter into an agreement with American Structure Point, Inc. for engineering services associated with the West State Street Sewer Lift Station project.
This is in regards to our lift station that's down by the gas tanks down by the fairgrounds. It's falling into a state of disrepair, and it's the largest lift station that we have here in the village, and it takes care of, I think, about half of the village waste. So it's something that we have to get onto right away. And there has to be engineering done before monies can be allotted for that.
Yeah, Art indicated to me that we're going to be bringing to you an OPWC grant request. So the engineering has to be finished to do that. So that's why he wanted to get it going.
And for those new on council, the acronym is Ohio Public Works.
Yes.
So it's something that's one of our go-to places for many of our funding issues when it pertains to that. So any questions in regard to this resolution? And Art would need your approval to do that because it's over his spending limit.
I will make that motion.
We have a motion by Kelly Cornett for the approval. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jeremy. Let's do a roll call vote.
Kelly Cornett,
Yes.
Bink,
Yes.
Mike, Nancy,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Kelly Campbell.
I just like to point,
1339.
I'm sorry. I just like to point out how good Art is at finding funding and that for these things. He works hard and he really does a great job on it.
He's very good at that. He's a member of the Ohio Municipal League as a director. He's up on these Appalachian grant dollars. And working with American Structure Point has opened his eyes to a lot of ideas and thoughts as to how you can get funding for a lot of these things. So yes, that's a very good compliment to him, Nancy, and I'm sure that he would appreciate you hearing that too. Okay, let's go to our payment listings on page 25. And if there are questions in regard to these, we'll do our best to try to answer these. But of course, this is Natalie and Art's forte, but we could probably make heads or tails of some of these things if you have questions. If there are none, or if you find others that you want to know about, you can either bring it up later or you can contact Natalie at your convenience and she'll be able to pinpoint anything that's on this list. Okay. Okay, we'll move on to our roundtable discussion, and I'll start down here on my right. Mike, do you have anything for council?
Yeah, I'd just like to say National Night Out is August 1st, right?
Correct.
5 at the Eagle, starts at 5 to 8. I'd like to also thank the police department for this weekend service. I got a call from Matt saying my building was on fire. And he responded very quickly. And then actually I was in my boxers, and by the time I got down the steps, the fire department was already there. So they responded extremely fast to put the fire out. Very little damage. Thanks, Joe Rocky and his team. There was also, I believe, Ripley Fire Department and Mount Orb was there as well. So thanks to them too.
Hopefully they'll hear that comment. If not, we'll pass it on to them.
Right.
Anything else, Mike?
No, that.
Okay. Bink, do you have anything for council?
I just want to remind about National Night Out again. We'll have bounce houses there and snow cones at our church's booth. I know there's other churches that are going to be there and plenty of businesses, and everything's free. Just hope to see everyone out having a good time. That's about it for me.
If no one's been to the National Night Out, it's a great affair, carnival-like, and you get to meet police officers face to face. You can see who wrote you that ticket on that parking thing, but it's a great way to rub shoulders with the people that protect us. So if you can come out on August 1st, and I believe, is that a Monday or a Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Please do so. Okay, Kelly, you're the new man here. Do you have anything for council tonight? I do not. Okay, very good. Kelly.
My only thing is I just wanted to thank everyone for the event Cakes for a Cause for the event that we had just about a week and a half ago. It was a great event. It was well attended. The rain, thankfully, once again stopped just in time for the event to get started. And our team in this room, I saw many of you guys at the event. Many of you helped out that day. Dale was a good sport, and he was up there pouring beers and did the official toast. And
I was pouring it on my shoes most of the time.
Same with Jeremy to my left. He was very helpful with pouring beers the whole night. And Rob, I know I ran into Rob a few times and his team, so I appreciate that. And them being there to support us, and Joey and his group too as well. So a great event. Again, the rain did not get in the way. And the attendance, I thought, was very strong. There's lots of pictures out there if you haven't made it out to the Facebook page to take a look at it. Lots of smiling faces and lots of people that had fun, it looks like. So certainly we will be doing that again next year. Our cause for the event, we were donating the money to help update or bring some new equipment to the park potentially. So I think we did good. We doubled pretty much what we made year over year. So we should ultimately end up around 8,000 that we can donate to the park for use at the park, which I think is very good and definitely up from next year. So, and Icky was there. I mean, can't go wrong with Icky. That seemed to be a strong attraction for the night. And so, yeah, it was very much enjoyable. So thank you to everyone in this room and also people outside the room as well.
That was a big endeavor to bite off. It gets bigger and bigger each and every year. And for those that partake in that, and I know many were here. I think Mike was helping set up tables and
Yep.
whatever. And a lot of people pitched in to get things going because they were running out of time beforehand because the rain had stopped. And it's like, let's get this thing built. So
Right.
it was a real good show of camaraderie there. And the people came out and it was a great affair. And I'm sure that this next year, the Kegs with a Cause will be just as successful, hopefully better so.
We've already started planning, so.
All right, very good. Anything else, Kelly?
Nope, I'm good.
Jeremy?
A couple things very quickly. First of all, just to riff off the night out thing, everything that Mike and Bink said, but also high five to the guy who's nominally kind of coordinating it. It's Sergeant Jesse Green. He's doing a lot of work on that. So you got the details. I just wanted to high five Sergeant Green for that. Also, please don't forget, just a public service announcement. There is a special election August 8th. Please do research as you see fit, and whatever you do, just please make sure to vote. Vote. You can vote early. Don't vote often. That's not cool. But feel free to send in a ballot or go down to the board offices early. They're open virtually they're open every business day during business hours if you can make it. A quick high five to the people who are doing an amazing job in very difficult conditions on the North Main Street water project. Especially today, and tomorrow's going to be horrible too, but they're doing a great job and under some tough conditions, and we really appreciate them taking care of that for the village. The gas ag update, I think I already made that, so I don't have to say that again, but August 10th, hopefully we'll be getting things rolling. And I think that's about it for me, as quick as I could.
Nancy, do you have anything?
A few things. You did a good job, Jeremy. First of all, I want to let people know that the Ripley Council and their mayor and the village administrator at Tuesday night's meeting thanked us repeatedly for the guys going down and helping them after the storm, especially Art in the electric department. Those guys worked here through the storm, and then they went down to Ripley to help. And they really appreciated it and voiced that. So I wanted to be sure that the electric guys knew that. And I think it's great that they take care of us, and then I'll also have an energy to go down and help our neighbors. Number two, this just a heads up. There'll be more information later. There's going to be a business seminar September 18th at the Ripley Library. This is paid for by the Appalachian Region Commission. It's one of 6 over the next 3 years that'll be offered as part of the and I had mentioned this before, the Appalachian Black Unity Initiative grant that Brown County, Ohio Tourism Inc., which I'm the chair of, we were a partner on that grant. And the topic of this seminar will be Captivate Customers by Telling Your Story. And it'll be led by Chris Kansky, a marketing consultant with New Pillar Marketing out of Columbus. Everybody is welcome. There'll be more information on the Facebook or that, but this is, open to everybody.
What was that date again? I'm sorry.
It is September 18th. And there'll be more, and there'll be a registration thing on Facebook and that a little closer to the time. And like I say, it's one of 6 over the next 3 years that the grant pays for. Number 3, it is never too early to think about Christmas. Christmas parade, December 2nd. Start organizations, businesses, individuals, clubs, start planning your floats. We're going to be sending out a letter on behalf of the fire department soon and registration for the parade. So we decided this year we want to start early. So anyway, start thinking about it. You got plenty of time. December 2nd, mark your calendars, and you'll hear more about that too. And we need to set an HR meeting, and that is Kelly and Bink and me. So,
Pick time.
The Human Resources is Kelly Cornett. Oh, you said this Kelly, didn't you? Thought you meant Kelly.
Yes,
Campbell.
Kelly,
Okay,
no.
yeah,
Cornett,
yes.
not Campbell.
We're
Cornett,
already confused now.
Bink and,
Okay. Somebody pick a date.
You want it in the next 30 days? When do you want it?
I would think I think we ought to have it sometime in August. How's let's see.
I can do day or evening, just depends on the day. So whatever works for you guys.
Any weeks that either of you are really busy that you don't want to add anything to?
The week of August 14th.
Hmm?
The week of August 14th.
That's bad for you?
Yeah, I'm out of
Okay.
town.
What about the 21st? We have a budget meeting at 6. I don't know if you want to do an HR committee meeting at 5 or if you want to do it another day, matters not to me.
On the 24th? No, another day that week would be great.
Okay,
21st. I
that
think
week
Tuesday.
or the next
Were
week.
you
Bink,
talking-
how's your schedule?
Pretty free, so I can be flexible.
Hey, can you meet earlier in the day, like if we wanted to meet?
Yeah.
Okay. Kelly?
That week, the 22nd is reasonable.
Okay. 22nd, what time? Say what?
Early's usually better for me.
11 a.m.
Ele-
8:22, 11 a.m.
You'll have to bring breakfast with that one. That's all right.
She's doing that intentionally. Okay, 11 a.m.
I said the earlier the better.
I didn't. That was Bing. 11 a.m. on, what was that, August
22nd.
22nd, Tuesday. Is that okay with you, Bing?
Perfect. Easy enough.
All righty.
Anything
That's
else?
it with me.
Okay. You probably had a couple of inserts that came late in your packet. One is an up-to-date version of what Jason Hammond is doing for the village currently. There was also a packet from our zoning administrator, Mike Click, but it was supposed to be a spreadsheet, but it doesn't turn out real well with that. But it'll give you an idea of some of the things that are being worked upon. And we'll probably have to get, Art was going to redo this, but he got ill. So we can discuss this at your convenience at our next meeting if you wish. Is there anything else that needs to be brought before council? We have our upcoming meetings. Utility Committee meeting Thursday, August 10th at 5. Our CDC meeting, August 10th at 6. Council meeting at August 10th at 7. And then, of course, we just had the HR meeting scheduled for 11 a.m. on the 24th.
Second.
And Budget Committee is at
6 p.m. 8:24. 8:24,
Okay.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. on that same day as.
No,
And many of you may have gotten invitations to that when I put it on my calendar. I don't know why it does that.
I won't be here that next meeting too.
Correct. Mike has told me he's going to be out of town on the August the 10th.
the HR one is the 22nd, I think that wasn't it, Kelly?
HR was 22nd and
And
budget
the
was the
budget's
24th.
There you go.
Okay, budget's 24th. Okay. Okay, is there anything else that needs to be brought up before council at this time? Having heard none, I will gladly entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, Michael, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Kelly. All in favor signify aye.
All right.
Those opposed, meeting adjourned.
Hey,
Have a good night, guys.
we're still live.
Hold on one second.
Me?
This is real quick. I'm just waiting for the. Once I tell you this is.